Should 4 and 5 not require a public hearing?
Subdivision is not.
Because it's all just,
That's all administrative stuff. And the other one's site plan, isn't it? Site plan's not here.
okay. Thanks.
And then if they're both subdivisions, one's site plan, right?
We have one site plan, one
Yeah.
subdivision.
It's okay. While you're up there, while I'm up there.
I like your slides. You do a good job with those.
Thanks.
Can scroll through here.
Yeah, you just tap it and go backwards. Like that.
Everything that happens to me is your fault.
No problem. It is.
It's my fault. And you could have said, any of you could have said no, and all of you should have.
Did you listen to the recording?
I wasn't listening live, and then I got a text from Chris that just said, sorry.
If the actual verbiage is in there, it said that I think this is hilarious and I'm the host.
I did watch the letter, and that's exactly what he said. This is how it's supposed to be. All right, we're going with that clock. Okay, we're going with the clock on the wall. It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, January 8th. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Tooele City Planning Commission. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we would all please rise and repeat the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the roll call. Commissioner Hammer.
Here?
Commissioner Proctor.
Here.
Commissioner Dunn.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
I am Chairman Robinson. I also am here. We want to excuse Commissioners Sloan and Gossett. Recognize city employees Mr. Page, Mr. Hanson, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Agard, council members Hanson and Manzione, and Ms. Fairborn. Next on the agenda, public hearing and decision on a conditional use permit request to consider an accessory drive-through by Tooele Leasing at approximately 35 South Tooele Boulevard in the light industrial zoning district. Mr. Page.
Thank you. C&G Construction Retail Stores, as per the applicant for this conditional use permit for the the property owner. The zoning is light industrial, and an accessory facility for a drive-through is considered a conditional use in this zone. As you can see below on the screen, their proposed drive-through. And then the vehicle tracking, it appears that there'll be plenty of stacking to accommodate this drive-through, so it won't impede traffic on the site or onto the street of 60 South Street. Staff recommends approval, subject to the applicant just demonstrating that lights from the drive-through wouldn't be a detriment or irritant to drivers on Tooele Boulevard. If it could be, maybe that the lighting for the headlights could be mitigated through some screening of using landscaping or a small fence. that's the only consideration that I could see for, or condition for issuing this conditional use permit is the possible irritation of the headlights. So with that, I give you my recommendation for approval. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to address those at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Page. Any questions from members of the commission?
Chairman, I have a question.
Shoot.
For deliveries, where would a large truck deliver anything?
Rob, could you address that?
I'm just thinking of a similar retail space that we have like this, and the truck in the past had to park in the parking stalls, and it caused a lot of congestion with cars.
Okay. The applicant, Brock, is here. He could probably best address that question.
I wish I had a pointer or something like that. But this area is right next to.
Could you come up to the podium, please, Mr. Griffith, please?
So this area is right next to Salt Flats Recreational Center and T-Tech College, right across from 60 South. And our construction facility, we get deliveries there all the time on 50-foot flatbeds and things like that. The road that is between Salt Flats, it's the private road where this drive-through comes off and on to 60 South. Okay. Anyway, we have trucks, UPS and stuff come in there all the time. It's a private road. It doesn't really get a whole lot of traffic. These businesses that are for these retail centers aren't, most of them are geared for like medical use. Some of our tenants that we have lease contracts with are for like mental health. So it's not a high volume area per se right now. But there's a lot of parking at the Salt Flats parking facility that is untapped. Mainly it is busy in the evening hours after business hours when teams are recreating at the Salt Flats facility. Then there's an influx of parking there. But again, we haven't run into any capacity issues. But during the day when deliveries would be, or early in the morning when typical businesses get their deliveries from suppliers, it's pretty wide open in there. I don't really foresee any issues. I haven't had any for the last 30 plus years right there. So
Thank
I don't
you.
know. Hopefully that answers your question.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. If not, thank you, Mr. Griffith. We're actually going to open the public hearing. If there's anyone from the public that wants to come forward and speak to this agenda item, now is your chance. Seeing no one rush the podium, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Griffith, as the applicant, do you have anything else you want to add to what's already been said by Mr. Page?
You mean come there?
If you have something to say, yes. If not, that's fine too.
No.
Good. Well, thank you. Bring this back to the commission for a motion or action item.
Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Proctor.
Move we approve the CPU request by Brock Griffith representing C&G Construction Retail Stores for accessory drive-through facility, application number 2024-070, based on the findings and subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Motion from Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. Any discussion on the motion?
Actually, I do have a comment on it.
Shoot, Commissioner Anderson.
So the screen and headlights, we have Jenna's Java that shoots headlights right across Main Street, 4 lanes of traffic. We have SWIG doing the same thing. I don't think that we are presenting Tooele City as a business-friendly city when we're throwing extra hoops in to the step for every business. It seems like it's a bit of an overreach to me.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Any more discussion on that motion? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner Hammer.
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor.
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
The chair also votes aye. That conditional use permit is approved 7-0. Next on the agenda, a decision for a preliminary subdivision plan request by Dave Irving representing Building Dynamics for an 8 townhouse-style residential lots at the corner of 1200 North, 680 West. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. This multifamily preliminary subdivision plan applies to the parcel highlighted in red on your aerial photograph. It sits at the southwest section or southwest corner of the intersection of 680 West, Carroll's Way, which is 1200 North. Property itself is about 1.3 acres. Property is currently zoned MR16 multifamily residential, 16 dwelling units per acre. As our properties to the north and to the east, we have some R17, which is undeveloped ground located to the west, and then some undeveloped ground that's zoned neighborhood commercial to the south. It should be noted that the property is located immediately to the east are Lex Townhomes, and it is the same developer that is developing this property. So it's kind of an extension of those townhomes that you see being constructed in that location. The preliminary subdivision plan basically just creates lots and creates property lines. We do have a site plan on this agenda as well, where we'll get more into the site itself, but the plat is fairly straightforward. The townhouse footprint will be the lot itself. That will be individually, privately owned. And then the plat will create some limited common areas, which is the driveway and probably some patio space. There's also a large stormwater detention basin on the north side of the townhome buildings. This is a large basin that collects stormwater from all the development. So everything located to the east, the water there will flow into that basin. That's why it's quite large. And then we have just some common area that would be landscaped with some amenities. That's the white area located to the west of the buildings. The preliminary subdivision plan meets all the city's requirements for lot size, as the MR16 zone does not put any restrictions on lot size. I've mentioned this before to the commission, but this is in order to facilitate private ownership of townhomes. So therefore, the subdivision as it is proposed meets or exceeds all the requirements in the MR16 zone for subdivision. So we're recommending approval based upon the fact that the subdivision does comply with the ordinance and with the conditions listed in your staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those for you.
Thank you, Mr. Agard. Any questions for staff by the commission members? Any comments? If not, this item does not require a public hearing. This is one of those administrative items that we get to pass. So I'll entertain a motion on this subdivision plan request.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Please, Commissioner Hammer.
I move we approve the preliminary subdivision plan request by Dave Irving representing Building Dynamics for the Lex Townhomes, Lot 106 preliminary subdivision plan, application number 2024052, based on the findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated December 31st, 2024.
There's
I'll
a
second that.
motion for approval, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take it to the vote. Commissioner Hammer.
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor.
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn.
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
The chair also votes aye. That subdivision plan is approved 7-0. Next on the agenda, the site plan for the same parcel of land. Mr. Agard.
Okay. Same place as the previous one, same zoning. This is the site plan for the proposed development. It's a fairly straightforward site plan, just a row of townhomes. The townhomes will be accessing 680 West directly, which is a public street. You can see the little amenity. They're located there on the west side of the development. They only have to have one, and it doesn't have to be a tot lot, but that's just what they're showing. But they are going to comply with that. Very straightforward site plan, really not a whole lot to report there with that. This is the landscaping plan. It does conform with the landscaping requirements of the Tooele City multifamily residential design standards in regards to the number of trees, the number of shrubs. They have limited the amount of sod in the development to just the white strip located to the west side That is an area that will be used for recreational purposes. The rest will be drought-friendly or water-wise landscaping. The building elevation, if you've been out there, you've probably seen the buildings that are being constructed now. It is the applicant's intention that this will be just like those other townhomes. So this is an elevation that shows the entire structure, all 8 of the units. Here's a little bit of a zoomed-in version of the front facade. This architecture meets, actually it exceeds the current requirements for brick on the exterior. They have approximately 60% of brick on the front there. You'll notice that there's plenty of articulation both vertically and horizontally on the front in addition to the roof line. This is the rear facade. Again, they've put plenty of stone on the rear facade along with plenty of variation and articulation. And then the side facade for the structure itself. Staff has reviewed the site plan. We are confident that it meets all of the requirements of the Tooele City multifamily residential design guidelines, and we are recommending approval with the basic conditions that we always put in our staff reports just for housekeeping purposes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, Mr. Agard. Any questions for staff on this agenda item? If there's no question or comment, I'll entertain a motion on this site plan request. You know what? Actually, I'll make a motion on this site plan request. I move that we approve the site plan request at the Lex Townhomes, lot 106 at the corner of 1200 North and 680 West in the MR16 multifamily residential zone based on the conditions and subject to the findings and conditions listed in the staff report.
I'll second.
A motion for approval is seconded by Commissioner Hammer. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll do a vote. Commissioner Hammer?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Chair also votes aye. That site plan is approved 7-0. Next on the agenda, City Council reports. Councilmember Manzione, welcome, and it's all
Hello,
yours.
Well, because of the way the holidays fell out this year, I think we got more time off than you did. So I don't necessarily have anything to report from a meeting. I will just give you a heads up that then we have a meeting next week, and the end of this month we will begin our budget process. So I'll first look at the budget for the next fiscal year. And of course, we discuss that over a good long 6 or 7 month period. So this will be the start of that process. Any questions for me?
Does it look like it?
Okay.
Thank you. Next, the review and decision of the minutes held on for the meeting held on December 11th, 2024. Any corrections, fixes for those minutes? If not, does someone want to make a motion
Mr.
to
Chair,
approve
I'll
it?
motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Hamilton. The chair will second that. And I assume there's no discussion on it? So yay, let's take it to a vote. Commissioner Hammer?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Chair also votes aye. Those minutes are now approved. Next, Training Fund, Powers and Duties of the Planning Commission. Mr. Agard, is that you? By all means, the time is yours.
Give me just a second here to bring up that presentation.
16 minutes.
Mr. Chair, can I interrupt for 1 minute?
You may.
I came from another meeting upstairs. I'm going to run back to that one. I might be back for the end of
Okay.
your training.
Farewell, Councilmember Manzione.
Okay. Feels like I was just spending another hour of your time doing some training. And it also feels like I just did this presentation like yesterday.
You
But
did.
we actually did that clear back in February. My goodness, how time flies. But this training session tonight is for general powers and duties of the Planning Commission. And it goes over governmental organization. So the question I want to ask you is, why do we have to do this training?
Down there.
Why are we doing this training?
Got to know what we're responsible for.
Okay? Very right, very correct. But we have to. We're required by the state, by state law, to do a powers and duties training at the beginning of every calendar year for the commission. And so even though you've probably This is all going to be a rewind and rerun for each of you. We have to get this done. So, and this will also count towards your 4 hours of training as required by year, which, by the way, all of you did surpass last year. So thank you for sitting through my trainings. Next time we'll get Kent to get up here and give you some training, and you don't have to listen to me so much. Okay, so how can commissioners achieve their 4 hours of training, which are required by state law? There's many ways you can do it. The first way is to attend 12 planning commission meetings per year. If I remember correctly, each one of you averaged about 14 or 15 meetings, with Commissioner Jensen taking the trophy for attending the most. But each of you got the 1 hour for attending more than 12 meetings. So we appreciate you for doing that.
That means next year you're here.
You can attend a planning conference. My department does have budget available. So if you want to attend a planning conference or an Urban Land Institute or Utah Land Institute conference, just let me know, and I'm happy to get you registered and cover those registration costs. I know that Commissioner Anderson attended APA with me last year, so did Commissioner Robinson, and I believe Commissioner Sloan was also there. But there are other conferences. If you're interested in anything you'd like to attend, let me know. Happy to take care of that for you. You can also seek out training opportunities through the state and Utah League of Cities and Towns. They do provide a lot of free online training. Or you can sit back and have a snack and let city staff provide you with some good, wholesome training, which we're happy to do. And I promise you're going to love it, and we'll take you on a trip back down memory lane to your high school civics class.
Hey, Andrew, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Because this was actually posed earlier this evening. If a commissioner's not here for the training like this evening, if they watch it on the YouTube channel, can they get credit for that training, or do they have to be here?
They can watch it on the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, good.
I think that's one of the benefits of recording the meetings. And so they can just hop on YouTube and watch it. Just let me know, and then I can
Commissioner
log the
Sloan and
training.
Commissioner Gossett are probably going to do that now. So there, now you know.
Excellent question. So how is government supposed to work? Well, we're all familiar with the 3 branches of government. We have the legislative, we have the judicial, and we have the executive branch. We have that at the federal level, we have that at the state level, we have that at the county level, we have that at the city level. And we probably have it at other levels as well, but those are the 4 that I know about. So what are the 3 branches supposed to do? Well, as we know, the legislative branch makes laws. The executive branch executes the laws, and the judicial branch is instructed, or their responsibility is to interpret the law. So how is this government supposed to work? Why are there branches of government? What do you think? Why do we have multiple branches of government?
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances.
Hold each other accountable.
Yep, we want to make sure that one branch doesn't get out of control and take over and run amok. The other 2 branches are there to kind of control it and keep things under control. Does it always work well?
No.
Well, I don't want to get into politics, but we've got a federal government that has a lot of power. But moving on. Which branch is the most important? What do you think? Is there one branch more important than the other?
No.
No, they're not. Each branch controls another branch. And so they all have equal important roles in maintaining government. And who plays these roles in the checks and balances? Who plays the legislative role? Let's say for Tooele City.
City council.
The city council plays the legislative role. Okay? Who plays the executive role?
The mayor.
Mayor. Who else? What about the planning commission? Are you guys administrative or are you legislative? Both. Yep, the planning commission does both. You're involved in both of those. And then who is our judicial branch?
Matt and Roger.
Matt and Roger. There he is, right over there. Okay, he's our judicial branch. Am I part of the judicial branch?
No.
The community development director, am I part of the judicial branch of government?
Do you do like appeals? Are you based on the appeals?
I do.
So, yeah.
Yep. What about Kent? He's the zoning administrator.
Yeah, because he's interpreting the code.
Yep, he's part of the judicial branch as well. So there's a few more individuals involved than just the attorney's office, but that's how the city plays out. At the federal level, we have the Congress, which is composed of the House and the Senate. That's the legislative branch. At the executive branch at the federal level, we have the presidency, which is the White House. And then, of course, at the judicial level, we have the courts, which are the Supreme and the appeals. At the state level, we also have a House and Senate. And the executive is our governor. I think our Spencer Cox was recently reelected. He's our executive for the state. And then for the judicial, we have the Utah Supreme and state courts. And then we've just discussed at the city level about how the government is divided within the city. Do all cities do everything the same way? No. Every city is different and unique in and of itself. There are different forms of governments for Utah cities. There is the council-mayor form of government. This is a form of government where you have elected city council with a selected chairperson, elected mayor as a CEO and AO, and a non-voting mayor with veto authority. Where does Tooele fit in? Do we meet this criteria? I think we do. Yeah, Tooele falls into this category. Okay?
Who's our non-voting mayor?
We have cities that have 6-member councils. They have six elected city council mayors, one as the mayor, 6 city council members, and one as the mayor. We have a non-voting mayor. The mayor is a chair of the council and may vote to break the ties or vote on city manager issues, vote on mayoral roles, and has no veto authority. Ceremonial functions of the city, and the council appoints a mayor pro tem. You also have a 5-member council where you have 5 elected city council members. One is the mayor. The mayor is regular and voting member. The mayor is a chair of the council. Ceremonial functions of the city. Council appoints the mayor pro tem, and the mayor has no veto authority. And then, of course, you have a Metro Township Council, which is the same arrangement as a 5-member council, involves presence or absence of a municipal services district. Stansbury Park is a good example of this form of local government. Stansbury Park is not a city. It is an unincorporated area. However, we do have the Stansbury Park Improvement District and the Stansbury Park, drawing a blank.
Recreation.
I live in Stansbury Park. I can't remember.
It's recreation and greenbelt.
Yep, that's it. The Recreation Greenbelt. They kind of act as our government. However, in Stansbury Park, we are governed by the county commission, the county council. So, what form of government does Tooele City utilize? What do you think? I flashed it on the screen really quickly.
Ours is unique and different than everybody else.
Charter, only one
Charter.
state.
Yep, Tooele is a charter city. We are the only charter city in the state of Utah. Ogden used to be a charter city, but they recently, a few years back, voted to remove the charter and function in a different manner. So this makes us a little unique. It's like, a charter is like Tooele's little constitution, and it governs how the city functions, how the government functions, and so forth. And so that's what makes our little city unique. Here's some cool stuff about Tooele's charter. Tooele is the last charter in the state of Utah. And I just told you which city just abandoned that. What does Tooele City's charter do? Number one, it establishes the form of government. It's similar to a 6-council member government. The mayor is not part of the council. Our mayor breaks tie votes. The mayor does not vote on mayoral roles. So mayoral roles are established by the city council. The mayor is the city manager. The mayor does have veto authority. The mayor is not the council chair. The council selects its own chair. Let's see there. The mayor handles the ceremonial functions of the city, and the mayor does not appoint a mayor pro tem. That is a function of the city council. So, what do we as staff do all day? Do we just sit around and twiddle our thumbs, or what are we busily engaged in all day? We are busy. Tooele City's legislative branch is composed of the City Council and the Planning Commission, as we previously discussed. Our City Council consists of 5 members, nonpartisan elected. Our City Council adopts a budget and funds appropriations. They adopt ordinances and resolutions and consent to mayoral appointments. Some of you are mayoral appointments. And in order to get you appointed to the Planning Commission, that had to have approval of the City Council. So those of you that are mayoral appointments probably remember that. The City Council sets tax rates, utility rates, and fees, approves contracts and agreements, approves purchases of $30,000 or more, and they also set parameters for their own business. What does the Planning Commission do? You are the Planning Commission. You probably have a good idea of what you're doing. It's a 9-member, nonpartisan appointed board. You make recommendations on land use ordinances. You decide certain delegated cases and set parameters for your own business. What are those parameters? You know what those are called? Bylaws. Yep, we just had a good training session on those at our last meeting. The Tooele City Judicial Branch consists of the courts, the city attorney, and the zoning administrator, located in the chair right over there. The judicial courts hear and decide cases and complaints, interpret laws as applied to complaints. The city attorney prepares and reviews ordinances and resolutions. I am constantly relying on Roger to help me with ordinances. So whenever I bring an ordinance to the Planning Commission, it has always gone to Roger first for his legal opinion and legal advice. And we do have an added benefit in that Roger is also a certified planner. So he is really a good wealth of information when it comes to preparing and reviewing ordinances. The city attorney also provides guidance and advice on administrative and legislative branches. So they're there to help make sure the city council and planning commission, that they have any legal questions, the city attorney can help with that. The zoning administrator, what does the zoning administrator do? The main function of the zoning administrator is to interpret Tooele City Code Title 7, Chapters 1 through 27. What exactly does that mean, interpret the code? What do you think?
Dissects it, explains it.
Okay.
Whether things are against or for, in harmony with the code, I would imagine.
Okay. Sometimes we have disagreements in what the code actually means and what the purpose is behind the code. A developer will be doing a project and they want to do something one way, and staff is saying, no, the code's requiring you to do it this way. And in many cases, I've seen this quite a few times, the developer does not agree with staff's interpretation of the ordinance. When that happens, they can submit an application for an official interpretation. And that's where the zoning administrator comes in. The zoning administrator will then, using the guidance of the city attorney and trying to determine legislative intent of the council at the time that ratified the code, what the actual meaning of that ordinance is. It's not an easy process, and in many times it can be challenged. But that's what the zoning administrator does. They are there to provide an interpretation to the code when necessary. Tooele City's administrative branch consists of the mayor, staff, and the planning commission. So what does the mayor do? The mayor is the CEO of the city and oversees all of the day-to-day operations of the city. The mayor supervises all of the city's department heads. Mayor Wynn is my boss. She's the one that I answer to and oversees my performance. The mayor executes the ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council. So the mayor, in her role as the executive, her responsibility is to execute the city council's will. So when the city council passes a law, it's the mayor's job to make sure that law gets executed and is followed through. And then the mayor is also the executive director of the city's RDA. The mayor also manages the city's budget. The mayor appoints department directors. manages city construction projects, manages maintenance projects, and manages city purchases. That's a big job, and I don't know if any of you would want to be the mayor. It's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility, and I admire anybody that's willing to step up to the post and take that responsibility. What does city staff do? City staff are the force behind making the city operations function. The city council passes the laws. It is the staff who make those laws happen. City staff facilitate the procedures and the policies, render decisions for delegated cases, and render services to the public as required by the city council. How is the Planning Commission part of the administrative executive branch of Tooele City government? I touched upon this a little bit. How exactly are you part of that, of both the administrative executive branch of Tooele City government? What do you think? Let me ask you this. Tonight, the 3 items you had on that agenda, were they administrative or were they legislative?
Administrative.
They were administrative. So what is the difference between an administrative item and a legislative item when it comes to you?
Most of the time legislative, we're making recommendations.
Exactly. So when you handle an administrative item, the standards are already set. The city council sets those standards and they make it into law. And then your job as an administrative body is to make sure that that application meets those standards, meets those laws. So you're not creating any new laws, you're just basically saying that meets the law, that meets the code. Whereas with legislative, you're involved in the new process, the process to make new law. Okay? The Planning Commission reviews applications based on established law. The City Council sets the standards and the Planning Commission ensures those standards are satisfied for subdivisions, site plans, multifamily residential site plans, and conditional use permits. So those are the 4 main administrative functions the Planning Commission is involved in. And did you know that planning commissions are required by state law? Utah Code 10-9A-302 requires that all political entities of 5,000 people or more shall have a planning commission. So not only does our charter require a planning commission, but also state law. And did you know that Tooele City's charter specifically requires a planning commission? I just told you that. Tooele City Charter Article 5 lays out the commissioner's terms and how vacancies on the commission are to be filled. And do you know which code directly administers and authorizes the planning commission? It's part of the city code. It's Tooele City Code Title II, Chapter 3. So not only does our charter authorize the planning commission, but the city code itself as well. The code creates the planning commission, enumerates the duties of the planning commission, the organization of the planning commission, assignments to each member, compensation, which is the stipend, meetings, proceedings and records, and removal from office. Let me ask you this question. Why are planning commissioners appointed instead of elected? And how does this benefit the city? What do you think?
Save the city money.
Well, let's talk about that. Why are planning commission members appointed instead of elected? Number one, planning commissioners are not subject to political winds and changes resulting from elections. So you can make decisions without fear of reprisal from the voters. That benefits the city because sometimes there may be something that is wildly unpopular but is actually good for the city. And you can make that decision without fear of being voted out of office or having constituents get mad at you. And that's a benefit. That does help you to make hard decisions. It also benefits the city. The city council is more subject to their constituents, and so they have to be a little more savvy about that, where you don't have to. Planning commissioners need to make difficult decisions without worrying about how it affects a constituency. And planning commissioners need to look out for the best interest of the city as a whole. And this can be unpopular to affected residents. So you are charged with looking at the city as an entire entity, not as just one little group here, one little group there. How does this benefit Tooele City as a whole? As planning commissioners, how do you know what you are supposed to be doing? Well, we start with the basics. What are we talking about? Legislative matters versus administrative matters. Do your homework and ask questions. Many of you do often field me with questions, and we appreciate that when you do reach out to us with questions and concerns and so forth. And then always remember the scope of your considerations and decisions. Going back to what we just mentioned, remember you are here to look at the city as a whole. How does this application benefit the city? Is it good for the city? Responsibilities. Planning Commission must approve a project if it meets the city code. Planning Commission must provide findings if conditions are added. I know that Roger is always making sure that you back your motions up with a condition, back your motions up with a finding if you're going to add conditions to the report. Typically, we will include in the report the findings, so you don't have to, but if there's an additional condition that you want to add, you want to make sure that you back that up with your findings. So, number 3, be prepared. Applicants have paid large sums of money for their projects, and they deserve due diligence. So when they come in here, they've invested quite a bit of money and time in their projects. Fees alone, a conditional use permit is $600. Subdivisions and site plans, you'd be getting up into $1,500, $2,000. And that doesn't include all the costs that they put into their design work and the engineering fees and so forth. So you guys are really good about doing this. You move projects through really quickly. And then number 4, view a matter objectively and try to keep personal views contained. So again, when you look at a project, how does this benefit the city? Doesn't really matter if you like it personally. How does it benefit the city? Or is it a detriment to the city? Some tools that you can use in your efforts as a planning commission. Number 1, you can table or continue items. If you need more information, it is within your authority to table an item until you have received the information you need to help make your decision. Can you think of an item recently that you tabled pending an additional information?
Down on 1000 North. The one down on 1000 North.
Yeah, yep. And just for your information, I do have a development agreement for that. Roger is returning that, or is reviewing that, and I anticipate we'll have that on an agenda shortly for your consideration. But that's a tool you can use, and I would encourage you to use that regularly if you need to. If there's an item you're not comfortable with, you say, we want to see this, we want to see that, we want something that's specific that's going to help you make your decision. Number 2, city staff. Use us. We want to be used. Email us, call us, pop in for a visit once in a while. Don't be shy. My door is always open to any of the commissioners if they have questions, if they need anything. I'll always respond to your emails. I know Kent will be available. I know Paul is always happy to talk to the planning commissioners if you need anything. So don't be shy. Please use us. Staff reports. So every time we get an application and we're ready to bring it to the commissioners, we usually spend a couple hours writing up an elegant little report that usually goes over all the facts and all the issues that we know of with a particular application. We then add maps and drawings in there for your reference. And we like to send that to you a few days before the meeting so that you have a chance to review those reports. I believe all of you read those reports, and I appreciate the fact that you do. But that's why we do that, is to get you prepared for those items. Staff reports include all the information staff can think of to provide you without boring you to death. And most questions regarding a proposed development can be answered by reading the staff report. Okay. Staff reports include code references, maps, and development plans for your reference and use. And then be prepared for your meetings. Read and study your staff reports, maps, and development plans. You are free to visit any of the sites on the agenda. So if there's an item on the agenda and you want to go take a look at the property, you are able to do so. Reach out to staff if you have any questions. The city planner and zoning administrator, the community development director, the city engineer, the city attorney, the city parks director, the mayor's office, and the city council. We're all here to answer your questions if you have any. All right, powers and duties quiz. Question number 1, is the Planning Commission part of the legislative branch of Tooele City's government?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Question number 2, Utah State Code and Tooele City's code authorize the creation of the Planning Commission. Is there anything else that authorizes the Planning Commission?
City charter.
City charter, yep. Question number 3, can the Planning Commission deny a site plan or subdivision application because they don't like the street names?
No.
No. Okay, that's not an ordinance issue, so you can't deny it for that. Question number 4, when are staff reports generally sent to the planning commissioners?
Friday before.
Friday before the meeting. Yep. If you don't receive a staff report on the Friday before a meeting, let us know. Either we forgot or something went wrong with the email, and we will get the staff report to you soon after that. Okay. Question number 5, are zoning map amendments legislative or administrative?
Legislative.
They are legislative. Okay. Question number 6, who is responsible to administer the day-to-day activities of the city?
Mayor.
The mayor. Question number 7, is the Planning Commission ever involved in budgetary matters of Tooele City? No. No. The budget goes directly through Mr. Hanson and the City Council. The Planning Commission is not involved in that. Question number 8, what can the Planning Commission do if they feel they have not been presented enough information to make an informed decision on a project that may have a large impact on the city? You can table it. You can table it 2 ways. You can table it either time-specific or event-specific. So if you wanted to table something pending submittal of a traffic study, you can make a tabling. You can table it based upon when that traffic study is ready, or you can table something for a month or 2 weeks or to your next meeting, but you want to make sure that you always make it specific so the applicant knows what they're supposed to be doing. With the last one you tabled, you tabled it specific to when they have a development agreement prepared. So, question number 9, why are planning commissioners appointed instead of elected to their positions?
Don't have to worry about voters.
Do not have to worry about voters. Don't have to worry about constituents. You can make hard decisions that are not popular with the general public, that are in the best interest for the city. And question number 10, are conditional use permits a legislative or administrative duty of the Planning Commission?
Administrative.
Administrative, yep. The parameters for a CUP have already been established by the City Council and are already codified. So your job is just to make sure that is in compliance with the code. Any questions for me? I appreciate you sitting through this training. I know it's all a rehash of stuff you already know, but we have to get it done. And so we've got it done for another year. Next year we'll have Kent do it. And he can come up with his own presentation and entertain you guys. But yeah, that's all I have for this training. And I appreciate all you do for the city, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agard. If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
What's that?
Screen shut off.
Mine hasn't worked for weeks.